Hello again, everyone. If you have forgotten, I'm Brian, this is Austin, we're the Sports Bandits. We apologize for the delay in posting some more episodes. My computer's been out of order and being repaired, but I have it back now and we're ready to go. So in this episode, we're going to be talking about some basketball conference tournaments. They got championship week coming up, starting right around now and running all through next week, and then we got the NCAA tournament. Well, today we're going to pick who we think is going to win each of the big conference tournaments in the coming week. We're going to start out with the men's side. So, Austin, why don't you take us through your ACC pick?
My ACC is the North Carolina Tar Heels. I think they're possibly one of the most improved teams in the country this year. Last year, they were really bad, but then they went to the NIT and they got all the way to the championship game. They played very well, and I think that experience is going to help them come tournament time this year. I think North Carolina is going to, whether or not they beat Duke this Saturday, I think is a moot point. I think when it comes down to tournament time, I think North Carolina is going to be good enough to win this tournament.
Well, I'm going to go exact opposite of that pick, and I'm going to take Duke. I really think that Duke has had a very strong season. They've been right around number one. They sat at number one for a while. Whenever they lost, they got it back, then they lost. But I think in all, they're going to be able to push through, and they're going to make it through their tournament. I think they'll take down North Carolina this weekend to claim the number one seed in the ACC, and I think they'll just coast through their tournament with ease.
Moving on to the Big 12 tournament, looks like we both have the same pick here. You want to talk about yours for what first?
Yeah, a lot of people might say that Texas is going to win the Big 12, but I've really been seeing a decline in Texas the last couple of weeks. They dropped a 22-point lead and lost to Colorado, followed by losing to Kansas State at home. Kansas State, a team that has improved over the year. They started out pretty poorly, but as the Big 12 conference play has gone on, they've improved a lot. So that is a quality loss, I guess, for Texas. But in all, I've really seen Texas play decrease since they played Kansas and Allen Fieldhouse earlier this year. And I think that those two teams will probably meet in the championship game. But in the end, I think that Kansas is going to take it.
I think you're right. I think Kansas is the best team in this conference. Texas, as they showed last year, knows how to fall apart at the end of the season. And so I don't see them winning this tournament. I honestly see them that they very well could get upset by the 7th seed in their first game, because it's looking like they're going to be the 2 seed in the tournament. Texas has not proven to me that they can win a big game late in the season, and I don't see that continuing. I see Kansas as the favorite, but there's a lot of other teams in there that could surprise Kansas, being Kansas State, because they've already beaten Kansas. I personally think Texas A&M is a very good team. Granted, they just lost to Kansas. Put them on a neutral floor. It's a one-game series. You never know what could happen. I'd say keep an eye on Texas A&M in that tournament, though. But Kansas is definitely the favorite.
All right, let's move on to a conference that could potentially have 9 or 10 teams, a new NCAA record, teams in the big dance coming in a couple weeks. The Big East. Austin, who do you see winning this very wide-open conference?
Well, they may even have 11 teams. Granted, there are more bids this year. But I'm going to go with probably one of the more upstart teams this year. I'm going to go with St. John's. Coach Steve Lavin has had this really group of seniors mainly. He's led them to one of their best seasons in many years. They had a tough loss last night against Seton Hall. You can see I got really chippy there at the end. Depending on if there's any ramifications, long-term ramifications from the end of that game, I like St. John's, but then again, as you've seen in this conference, it is wide open, especially with the double bye and the single bye format. With all 16 teams playing, anybody really has a chance outside of the bottom 2 or 3 teams.
Well, for the Big East, I think that Louisville could make a run as long as they don't bring their cheerleaders to the game. But I'm going to take Pittsburgh in this one. I've been watching Pittsburgh play the last couple weeks, and they've been playing really well. They've got great inside play, they've got great outside play, good defense. All around, they've been playing very well. Granted, they did lose to Louisville, and were almost able to pull it off thanks to the cheerleader that got a technical. But I'm going to take Pittsburgh in the Big East. Right now, I think that their play has just been pretty unmatched right now at the end of the season. I think they'll carry that on through the tournament.
Moving on to the Big Ten tournament, there's a few real high-quality teams here that could make a run at the national championship. But Brian, who do you think is going to win when it comes time to the Big Ten tournament?
Well, I mean, everyone's been talking about Ohio State and how great they've been. They've had a few runs at number 1. But I'm going to go with the team that was actually able to knock off Ohio State earlier this year in the Wisconsin Badgers. They've been playing pretty good ball throughout the whole season pretty much. They had a couple big wins. They've placed themselves very nicely for this tournament. They're going to probably take a 3 or 4 seed. And I think that they could make a nice run through this tournament, and if they happen to meet up with Ohio State again, I think they could take them down again. They know how to play against that team.
Well, I agree with the reasoning. Ohio State's very good, but they are beatable. Wisconsin is one. I do like Wisconsin a lot, and they very well could win it. But I'm going to go with Purdue. I like the way Purdue has played this year. They just beat Wisconsin a couple of weeks ago. The one thing to look at with Purdue is they've been a very good home court team. It'll be interesting to see how they play on a neutral court. Obviously, I don't think this could be a terrible difference, but, come stretch time, when half this crowd is Purdue and half the crowd is their opponent, we'll see what happens in those late game moments.
All right, well, moving on to our last men's conference, we're going to talk about the SEC now. Austin, who do you have winning the SEC tournament?
Well, I have Florida. Florida is the best team in this conference this year, and I don't see anyone else winning it. Kentucky has not impressed me enough this year to think that they can win it. And the other half of the conference isn't even going to make the tournament, so it's just like football, except it's reverse. The other division that's going to have 3 or 4 teams making it, and none. I looked at Vanderbilt. I looked at Vanderbilt as maybe a team that could, but Vanderbilt has been inconsistent recently, and I see Florida taking this one probably pretty easily.
Well, I don't look for any of the teams from the West to even have a shot at this title. The only team that might be able to pose any threat is Alabama, and we saw them get absolutely slaughtered by Florida earlier this week. So I'm going to also go with a team from the eastern side, but I'm going to go with Kentucky. The Wildcats, they have a history of being a great basketball team. They've one of the first teams to, 5,000 wins or something?
2,000.
2,000 wins, something like that. But I really like Kentucky in this tournament. They just have a nice history. They've been getting their program together. Like you said, they haven't impressed you that much. They haven't had a great season. So I'm looking for them to step up right now and show everyone what Kentucky basketball is all about and take this tournament.
Well, we'll see. Moving on, we're going to skip the Pac-10 because they're terrible. Looking at the women's tournament, we'll start with the ACC. Brian, who do you like there?
Well, in the ACC, again, I'm going to have to go with the Blue Devils. They've been playing really well all season. They've been up there. The only other team that I really think can give them a nice run is Miami. Right now they're looking to be maybe a 2, maybe a 3 seed going into the big dance. But I really like Duke. They're going to probably end up pulling a 2 seed because the top 4 are pretty much set. But I really think that Duke will have no problem getting through the ACC tournament and potentially meeting up with Miami in the championship game and taking it and claiming their 2 seed. Well,
yeah, I agree. Duke has been a top team in the country. They were the very last team to lose a game, and they lost a really tough game to UConn. Where they played probably the worst of the season. But overall, Duke 26-3 on the season. I think they're the best team in the ACC, and I think they'll be able to win with maybe a slight challenge somewhere along the line.
Moving on now to the Big 12, a conference that has a few good teams right at top, and it's pretty deep all the way through. Austin, who do you see taking this conference?
Well, all biases aside, I think Baylor is the best team, and I think they're the best equipped to win this tournament. It is a bunch of one-game series, so if something happens on one night, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Iowa State, Kansas State could all beat Baylor. They're all legitimate threats. It's just simple things. If they're not shooting the 3 well that night, if Brittany Griner gets in foul trouble, there's lots of ifs with Baylor. But the majority of the season, those ifs have not been occurring, so I would anticipate Baylor being able to win this.
Yeah, another team that you didn't mention was Colorado's been playing well down the stretch. They've been getting some quality wins here going into the tournament, and I mean, you could look for them to maybe have an outside chance of making a splash. I'm going to agree with Austin. I'm going to take Baylor in this one. They've played great all season. They've been ranked number 1 some. They lost to, who did they lose to?
Baylor lost.
Baylor lost to Texas Tech earlier in the season, dropped them down to the 2, maybe 3 in some polls. But I really like Baylor in this. I think the key for them is not just Brittany Griner playing well, but Odyssey Sims, as we saw when she came to Norman, hit a lot of threes. And if teams start to shut down Brittany Griner down low, their outside game has to step up and hit as many threes as they did. If their perimeter play hadn't been able to knock down as many threes as they did, Oklahoma would have beat them, and they would have lost a couple other games this season. So I think for Baylor, the big key is their perimeter game. But in all, I really think that they've got the dynamics on the inside, in the paint, the outside on the perimeter to be able to take this conference.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Colorado can win their first game and win a matchup against Baylor since they're seeded 9 right now. Colorado,
yeah,
they've had a couple of real big quality wins late. But moving on to the next conference, this one, I don't even think we should spend more than about 10 seconds on it. We both picked UConn. No one DePaul's the closest team, but UConn has dominated everyone in conference play just like they have the last couple of years.
Well, I agree with you. I'm going to take UConn, obviously. It's the safe pick. It's the normal pick. If anyone deserves a right to even take a shot at UConn, it's going to be DePaul. They were able to take down Stanford this year. I really think that DePaul's a quality team. Unfortunately, they're in the same conference with UConn, who's lost one game in the last 3 seasons. So I really like UConn to take this conference without much hassle.
Yeah, a Meteor may be DePaul's best chance of winning this, but Connecticut will probably win every game by 20 points. It's not going to be competitive. Moving on to the next conference on our list, we're going to look at the Big Ten tournament. This is the first one on the list that we have some difference on the women's side.
Yeah. This is a pretty wide open conference. I mean, at the beginning of the season, it looked like Ohio State was the clear-cut favorite to take it, but then Michigan State swoops in and takes their first outright women's conference title. But in this tournament, I'm really liking Ohio State to step up. They kind of started out the season strong, fell off, and then they finished the season strong. And I look for them to continue to push through this tournament and make a run here and get ahead of steam going into the tournament, maybe push themselves back up from a 6 to maybe a 5 or a 4 seed if they can end up winning this tournament.
All right, Ohio State obviously is a dangerous team. You know, to be ranked in the top 10 at one point this season, you obviously have to have something good going for you. But I am going to pick Michigan State. I think them and Ohio State will probably meet in the 1-4 matchup in the semifinals, and that'll probably be the game to decide the tournament. But I think Michigan State, they're having a great season, and I think they're going to find a way to pull this game out and end up winning the Women's Big Ten tournament.
Moving on to our last conference, it's going to be the SEC. Austin, who do you have here?
Well, I have Tennessee. Pat Summitt is probably the greatest coach in women's basketball, if not in all of sport. She has the Lady Vols back where they're used to being, and that's a 1 seed, and that's one of the most dominant teams in the country. The closest team in their conference this season was Kentucky, who finished 5 games behind them. Even further off than DePaul did from UConn. So I see Tennessee winning this, possibly even more dominating than UConn is.
Well, I'd have to agree with you. I'm going to take Tennessee as well. No one in their conference can even come close to matching up with them. And I really think that Tennessee's a quality team, but I really think that we don't know how good of a quality team they are until we're going to start seeing them in the NCAA tournament and see them start matching up with some teams more their caliber. I do think that Tennessee's going to deserve a 1 seed, which they're going to get. Obviously, the other 1 seed will go to Stanford, who is going to be a clear-cut favorite to win the Pac-10. So I really like Tennessee in this conference. No one can match up with this team right now, and I think they'll just bowl through their tournament and on to the NCAA tournament.
So, for the Sports Bandits, I'm Austin, and this is Brian, signing off. Enjoy your week of college championships.